3,000! History with an exclamation point!
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied. The Yankees are champions of baseball.
Okay, welcome to the show, everybody. Episode 973 of the podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever it is you are listening to this episode or maybe watching it on the YouTube edit. Hope you're doing well. In this episode, we're going to discuss a particular Yankee, one that's already on the team because, of course, the small market New York Yankees don't have enough money to spend and sign big free agents unless they get a value deal, right? So what we're going to keep doing, as we have all offseason, is talk about current players on the roster. And specifically, I want to dive into a guy in the rotation because pitching's been a big topic of conversation this offseason as much as we have discussed the Bellinger stuff. Pitching is a big conversation, and in my opinion, it's the biggest conversation that should be taking place. The Yankee rotation, as currently stands, is banged up and in need of some depth. And obviously the Yankees are still trying to find their guy in the starting pitching market right now, Freddie Peralta being the latest name that they'll most likely not get because this is the Yankees and they don't like to do anything apparently. But regardless of what they do, Peralta or not, they're going to have to get some guys to step up early on. Without Garrett Cole, without Carlos Rodon. And of course, you've got Max Fried at the very top of that staff. Big lefty. And then you go up and down the rest of the rotation early on. Again, as currently constructed, there are some names there. You got Cam Schlittler. Everyone's excited for him, and everybody should be excited for Cam Schlittler entering year 2. But there's another guy who's entering year 2 who I think could take a leap, and I think could take an even bigger leap than people might be anticipating. Because listen, in this guy's, whatever you want to call it, pre-rookie stint, he was not good. He was hard. He was hard. Back in 2024, where everyone overreacted because they can't see past results, and we're talking about Will Warren, if you haven't guessed by now, had a 10.32 ERA in 22 2/3 innings back in 2024. Hard. Got a shot in camp back in 2025 last year. And he got a shot because the Yankees are a professional organization who don't live on Twitter and react to everything. So they gave him a shot in spring, and he was excellent. So good to where, as soon as the Yankees started dealing with injuries and their staff, Will Warren was slotted into the rotation. And he had himself a very nice, super reliable 2025, where you just knew he was going to make every start. Made 33 starts. Tossed 162 in the third innings. Struck out 171 batters. 65 walks. He had a 92 ERA plus, 4.44 ERA, 4.07 FIP, 137 WHIP, 8.8 hits per 9, 3.6 walks per 9, 1.2 homers per 9, 9.5 strikeouts per 9. So that was Will Warren's rookie season. Again, I thought it elicited a little too much disrespect. I think he is overhated, not overrated. I think he's overhated by a fan base that maybe likes to scapegoat him sometimes when the Yankees go through a bad turn in the rotation. Will Warren's name is usually up. When Will Warren has one of his blow-up starts, which he had a couple last year, it's usually super loud. And it feels like when he has one of his gems, it's never really, hey, great job. It's always, yeah, but let's see you do it against this team, or how long can it last? Just didn't feel like he got the credit that he deserved to get. And listen, Will Warren could very well not be on this team. He could be getting traded right now for Freddie Peralta. But for as long as he is here, I want to talk about the prospects of what he could be. And we'll start doing that the minute we get back from our first break here on episode 973 of BD4. Stick with us.
Quick break here, guys. Stay connected with BD4 on social media. Follow us on Instagram and X at BD4Pod, and find us on Facebook by searching BD4. Don't miss out. Join the conversation.
So one of the promising things about Will Warren, which makes me really intrigued about him, and it's made me intrigued since camp of last season, is that he's got a very versatile pitch mix, and all those pitches have a ton of life. And when I mean versatile, it's not just deep. Like, we know it's deep. Four-seam, sinker, sweeper, changeup, curve. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pitches. But it's very versatile. And four-seam, he threw 42% last year, 21% sink, 21% sweep, 10% change, 7% curve. But when I say versatile, it's the specific pitches that he throws. He has the stuff to get both lefties and righties, and I think that's very promising, especially for a guy who wants to be a starting pitcher in this league. But he's got a four-seam fastball that he can obviously use to both sides, but does favor it against lefties. That's probably because he likes to set up the sweeper with his two-seam for righties, but he can use the sweeper for righties, right? He does go to lefties a lot with it. We'll talk about that. Can backdoor that sinker for righties, and he'll occasionally front hip it to lefties. We'll talk more about that. The changeup, obviously, he uses that to go to lefties with. It fades arm side. Talk about that in this show. And the curveball is obviously a pitch that he drops in on lefties from time to time. So a very versatile mix. And when you consider that, and you pair it with the fact that he gets elite spin, elite break, and just has very good life on all 5 of his pitches, I think that's really promising. It just reminds you a lot of some guys he's been compared to before. Mike King, Clark Schmidt, just in terms of the pitch mix, the mechanics that he gets when he throws them, the break that he gets on these pitches. But Will Warren, you saw him hover around 93 miles an hour with the fastball last year. Excellent spin, good ride, and a good combination of a good extension and a low arm angle, which all helped that four-seamer play up a lot more than the 93 that it actually has, raw velo. The two-seams got a ton of sink to it. It graded out as 104 in Stuff Plus last year, but it drops a lot. It's a really good sinker. The sweeper, tons of spin. I mean, we've seen this pitch. It gets ridiculous break east to west. It got 33% whiff rate last year, which is a great number. Had 105 Stuff Plus on it. The changeup, it's a pitch that really works well. It has very little spin, which is good for a change. Tons of drop. Got 32% swing and miss last year. The curveball, his least used pitch, but again, it's a pitch with a ton of spin, very good horizontal break, 34% whiff rate last year, and it had a 111 Stuff Plus figure on it last year. Very high number. Now, we just said that he has the stuff to get both sides of the plate out. The splits don't match that statement, and I want to talk more about that when we get back from a break here on BD4. Stay with us. Be back in just a sec.
Want more BD4? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share with your fellow fans. Don't forget to ring that bell so you're always the first to know when a new video drops.
It's funny because you go on to Will Warren's StatCast page, if you go on Baseball Savant, And, it's where everyone likes to go to see if somebody's peripherals match up with the eye test, or maybe they don't. And for a guy who has some really good stuff, you go on his StatCast and very poor exit velos, very poor hard hit rates. The barrel percentages are not good. Poor home runs per 9. And I don't think that's just because, again, he lacks stuff. He's obviously got this stuff, but I think a lot of that is pitch usage, pitch location, and sequencing. Sometimes he can be a bit too predictable with what he follows up the fastball with. Sometimes he leaves his stuff in the middle of the plate. Sometimes he doesn't go to a certain pitch when you think he should go to it. That sweeper was his biggest problem last year numbers-wise. Both lefties and righties crush it. He's been really good to righties. He was really good against right-handed bats last year. That's the most important part. If you want to be a big league pitcher, is if you can retire right-handed bats, who obviously dominate the league. I mean, over 70%, I would like to think, of this league is right-handed. That's good. If it was the opposite way, that's an issue. But he can go to the righty with a 4-seamer and a 2-seamer. That worked really good against them. But it's against lefties, really, where everything except for the changeup had problems. And we'll talk more about the changeup in a second. But the 4-seamer, the 2-seamer, the curveball, and the sweeper weren't excellent. They were very bad against lefties. This is why, me personally, I think the Yankees should at least explore. If they can't tap into him this year, they should explore the possibility of using Will Warren as a right-on-right reliever, especially if he does figure that sweeper out. Because if he already has great splits against righty bats, and you consider that sweeper, which already profiles as an elite pitch, right? The break on it's insane. And if that pitch that has great profile has yet to pan out, and he's still good against righties, that's a good sign for a guy who could be a right-on-right relief pitcher. Because if that righty sweeper does pan out, obviously a sweeper right-on-right is an out pitch, right? That's a promising sign to me, that he's yet to figure that pitch out, and he's still able to retire righties. Now, on the flip side, if you do turn him into a reliever, obviously you're losing a big innings eater and a guy who makes starts, but the Yankees have the depth to think about that if it's not working out as a starter down the line this year. But against righties last season, Will Warren, 232 average, 283 on base, 398 slug, 680 OPS. That is no joke. Those are really good numbers. Again, it's primarily the 4-seam and 2-seam that are his out pitches for righties. Doesn't throw a ton of change or a ton of curve, obviously, given the movement on those pitches. So I think getting the sweeper location right is very important for him to have that breaking pitch against righties. But against lefties last season, 266 average, 350 on base, 426 slug, 786 OPS, which is, that's 106 points worse than he was against righties. So very hard. Again, everything but the changeup got hit against lefty bats last year. So again, it all comes down to location, usage, and sequencing, right? If he has better location this year, he will be a better pitcher, because when he can locate that 2-seamer front hip to lefties, it's a deadly pitch because of the action that it gets arm side. If he has better sequencing this year and he tweaks his usage, he's going to be a much better pitcher. He was too predictable last year against lefties. They spit on everything, so he didn't miss a ton of bats. He walked a lot of guys. That led to a lot of RBI extra base hits. That changeup is going to be key to get lefties, because it profiles extremely well, as we said. Against lefties, he threw the changeup last year 265 times, which was the most used off-speed pitch against lefties. They hit just 203, 391 slug. The expected numbers were great, 243 batting average and a 391 slug. And, just given that it's a pitch that already profiles well. And given the Yankees' history with Matt Blake and Sam Breen, some of their pitching development guys, they work very well with changeups, as we've mentioned time and time on this show. They've helped a lot of guys tweak their changeup and make it a go-to pitch. Rodon's developed a good change. Yarbrough last year came in here, started throwing a better changeup, changed the grip on it. They've done it time and time again. So I would like to see them work with Warren on his changeup, maybe make him more confident in that pitch and up the usage on it to lefties. That can help him find success. And maybe his sweeper, you cut that out or you reduce the usage on the sweeper against lefties because you don't really need to spam that pitch against lefties. Use that to get righties. That's what that pitch is made for. And you go to your changeup a little more. So, I mean, he has all the right mix to be able to not just neutralize righties, but lefties too, with the two seam, the changeup, the curveball combo as his secondaries. Right? That's two pitches that go west to east and one north to south. So if he doesn't improve and he comes out this year and he's the same type of pitcher with the same location and sequencing issues, same inconsistencies, the same problem against lefties, and the same issues against top lineups, he's going to have a rough time. Because remember, when he started facing playoff lineups and just top lineups, right, good lineups, that's when he struggled. Because those lineups, unlike below average lineups, you face, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays. Those guys know how to hit. They're going to spit on certain pitches. They're going to sit on certain pitches. They know how to hit. He had 7 blow-up starts last season. Those starts where I consider 5 runs or more, including the postseason. 3 of those 7 lineups were top 5 in offense last season. 6 out of the 7 blow-up starts were against lineups that were top half in offense last season. We're going by WRC+. L.A., Boston twice, Toronto twice, Atlanta, and Tampa Bay, who was 16th in offense. So you get the point there. So I just think there's a lot more to be unlocked, and we'll wrap this up when we get back from break talking on Will Warren.
Love BD4 but don't have the time to sit down and watch? Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star rating and a quick review. It helps us grow and keeps the conversation going.
Okay, welcome back to the show, episode 973 of the podcast, talking Will Warren and the potential of him. You want to call it breaking out, you can call it breaking out, being unlocked, just improving in his development. So we'll see. Again, he could very well be traded, part of this Freddie Peralta deal. Is he going to deal for another starting pitcher? We'll see. But I just think there's a lot more than meets the eye. And I think a lot of baseball fans need to do a better job of that. Just need to do a better job of just looking at the surface level numbers, just the results. And I'm not even saying dig into analytics, but just like go into feel. What do you feel? What do you see out there? Do you like the way this pitch breaks? Do you like the way that pitch breaks? What are hitters missing on? What pitch is consistently getting swing and miss? Like, just use your eyes, and that helps you to determine if this guy has something or not. You can't just judge guys and evaluate talent based off, did they get results? Was his OPS good? Was his ERA low? It's just a silly way to go about it. I mean, Ben Rice would have never broken out last year if the Yankees operated like that. They would have cut him after he struggled as much as he did in his first stint. Same with Will Warren, right? I mean, his 10-something ERA that he had 2 years ago would have never gotten the shot if that was all they looked at. So I just think, look, we're in an age now where guys are getting big contracts, not really based off, low ERAs. Dylan Cease, they see the talent. They gave him that big deal, Toronto did, because they know this guy is going to make starts for you, and he's going to strike out a lot of guys. So there's something more in there they believe they can untap. So I think, I'm not calling Will Warren Dylan friggin' Cease, but I am saying Will Warren, if he can be unlocked, could be a good number 3 for this staff, right? And I don't think it's crazy to say that He could be the best righty in this rotation as currently constructed. Right now with Cole on the shelf, Warren's got that potential. I really do believe it. So let me know what you think. I appreciate you all for stopping by. Will Warren could be due for a nice year. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.